Po Delta, a quite unique environment straddling 2 Italian regions, 3 provinces and hosting 2 regional parks, is home to the largest national park in Italy, made up of wetlands with an outlet to the sea and uninterrupted by any dams or weirs. The current structure of the Po Delta was formed by a combination of the action of the river and more recent engineering works. Over the centuries, alluvial deposits have gradually accumulated at the mouth of the Po, which has pushed the coastline out into the Adriatic, as can be seen along the stretch from Chioggia to Ravenna, where ancient riverbeds and sandbars abound. Dynamic, highly diversified habitats, wetlands are among the most productive ecosystems anywhere on Earth. The biodiversity in these areas includes a vast assortment of bacteria, plants and animals. Engineering has helped to preserve this vast wetland and its adjoining salt marshes, and continues to ensure that these lagoons, with their direct outlets to the sea, are properly preserved. Because of its outstanding natural value, much of the Po Delta has been included in the list of Sites of Community Importance, or SCIs, and Special Protection Areas, SPAs. In the Po Delta, the value of the ecosystems lies in the diversity of its environments, its distributary channels, its coastal dune systems, as well as its woods and coastal pine forests. But most of all, it's the Po Delta's extensive wetlands, most of which contain brackish waters that host more than 30 different Natura 2000 habitats. The salinity of the Po Delta's brackish waters varies with the rains and tides. The ecological community living here has evolved a series of special adaptations over time, which enable individual species to survive. Indeed, the Po Delta is home to over 100 plant and animal species protected by the EU Habitats Directive, and boasts the longest stretch of natural sandy beach anywhere in Italy. Last but not least, the Po Delta is the largest area of lowland in Italy which is totally devoid of housing, about 20,000 hectares in all. It's used for farming, some being set aside for organic and integrated production. This farmland has all been reclaimed from the river. The geometry of the land by the sea is rather unstable and changeable, with some parts being subject to erosion and others undergoing accretion. The geomorphological evolution of the Po Delta has been greatly affected over the years by numerous flood events, by reclamation works and by the diversion of the River Po. Water can still be found in 2 main types of environment, both connected with fishing: lagoons and fish farming areas. Salt marshes facilitate water exchange, bearing the brunt of the waves and hosting characteristic vegetation and abundant birdlife. The Po Delta used to be covered by forests and Mediterranean maquis scrub. These coastal and lowland forests are now very few and far between due to the impact of man over the centuries. Indeed, these woodlands are now rare ecosystems which need special protection. In some lagoons in the delta, they've been farming shellfish since the early 1960s. At first, the farms were for the naturally occurring carpet shell clam, Tapes decusatus. Although in the 1980s, this local species began to be replaced by its Indo-Pacific cousin, the manila clam, Tapes philippinarum. The project, Conservation of Habitats and Species in the Natura 2000 sites in the Po Delta, has 5 beneficiaries, which manage the natural heritage of the area. The Po Delta Parks and Biodiversity Management Office, in the Emilia-Romagna portion of the delta, the Veneto Po Delta Regional Park Office, a Po Delta Land Reclamation Consortium, Veneto Agricoltura, a Veneto Region Special Agency, and the World Wildlife Fund Italy. The overall objective of the LIFE project Natura 2000 in the Po Delta is to preserve the vast wetlands. The project focuses in particular on 3 sites in the Natura 2000 network, each of which has forest and lagoon ecosystems. Implementing the project has helped create new habitats for birds, amphibians and reptiles, increasing water circulation within the lagoons, as well as improving the exchange between freshwater and seawater. Indeed, in these environments, managing water levels and adjusting salinity directly affects the food chain and the availability of habitats and species. There are a number of target bird species that benefit from the project: Kentish plover, avocet, little tern, gull-billed tern, sandwich tern, common tern, slender-billed gull, and Mediterranean gull. For these birds, the main threat is the loss of suitable nesting habitat. That's why the LIFE project created artificial nesting mounds for the birds to lay their eggs on. In the Valli di Comacchio, in the Sacca di Scardovari, and in Valle Capisani. The material for the nesting mounds was produced by dredging the channels, a task which in itself ensures better water circulation in the valli. Two other target bird species are the kingfisher and the bee-eater, whose nests are burrowed into the side of riverbanks or sandy, clayey slopes. In their case, the main threat lies in the destruction of these special habitats. Under the LIFE project, in some of the ponds in the Carmelo area, where these species already nest, artificial vertical nesting banks have been built and put in place. In the Po Delta, another 2 species highly threatened by habitat loss are the Italian spadefoot toad and the European pond turtle. New freshwater ponds have been built for them at Bosco Nordio and Carmelo, helping to recreate habitats suitable for them to breed in. This involves building small islands in the ponds where the existing population of Emys orbicularis lives, as well as natural slides to help them get in and out of the water. At Bosco Nordio, the new ponds have already managed to boost the breeding success of the tiny amphibian known as the Italian spadefoot toad. Several improvements have been made to Natura 2000 sites. In the Valli di Comacchio, dredging underwater channels under the lagoon surface has improved water circulation capacity, thus improving Habitat 1150 coastal lagoons. Hydraulic management also involves getting the Caldirolo and Leonarda sluices back into working order. At the adjacent Vene di Bellocchio SCI SPA site, the mouth of the Gobbino Channel was dredged, connecting the Valli di Comacchio with the sea, thus bringing the right amount of salt water into the valley. In Valle Bagliona and Valle Capisani, the engineering works involved improvements to water circulation and the construction of nesting mounds for bird species. Similarly, in the Sacca di Scardovari, underwater channels have been dredged under the lagoon surface and the seaward embankment. At the Carmelo Nature Sanctuary, new nesting sites for breeding terns have been created by installing water lily habitats and artificial nesting sites. The sites are then monitored on a seasonal basis, and this has shown that the new areas have gradually been successfully colonized by breeding birds. The project also involved the restoration of an agricultural building at the Ca Vendramin Regional Land Reclamation Museum. The building now holds an exhibition on the habitats in the Po Delta and on the engineering works carried out under the project. Under the project, a fully equipped outdoor classroom has been built at Bosco Nordio, illustrating Valle Bagliona and Valle Capisani's beautiful natural environments, as well as the extensive fish rearing that goes on here. In order to share the results of the project with the local community, and further afield, an environmental education program for school groups has been set up, along with seminars, publication of learning materials and flyers, and a documentary film. Information and awareness-raising activities have involved more than 6,000 people, mostly students and visitors, together with a good number of firms from the local economy.